And apologies again. Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
All good. Oh, thanks for remembering my name. Kia ora na, everybody. How are we? Well, kei te pēhea koe? Kei te pai. There we go. Firstly, thank you for the invitation to be back here. I actually consider this a milestone that you still kind of remember who I am. So to the awesome tripod, the three of you, Paulie, Laura, and Colart, you guys are hugely influential in my life. And when I got the email, I was like, yes. By the way, that was my word for the year, yes. So actually, I was just saying earlier to Colart when I was preparing for tonight, I was thinking, wow, like I never actually sit down and go back through what I've been up to, and now I realize why I didn't make a PowerPoint, because things have been busy. But it was an interesting process actually. I found myself at one point kind of going, oh, I don't know about standing out talking about my successes. That's a little bit like culturally and personally kind of a bit uncomfortable for me. And I really had to kind of find like the reason why I would want to stand up here and share the good stuff that's happened with KidsCoin. And actually it all came back to my grandma. So, I was like, man, like this is, okay, what does this mean to me? Like why would I want to share this stuff? And I thought about her and I thought, you know what, like so many of the things that I saw her doing through successes and failures influenced my life without her even knowing. So my hope in being here tonight is that if I do share something which I unintendedly share with you, that you get a nugget of gold out of it that can actually help to propel you forward. Because that's kind of my whole purpose, is really all about saying, well, if I can do it, so can you. And in our communities, especially in the Māori and Pacific communities, we don't have a lot of leadership to do that. So, I want to try and encourage a lot of our rangatahi to stand up and lead the way for others. So what I did in prep was I looked back to when I was up here. I spoke at MUV Talks in May last year as well, and our theme was all around equity. So, that was a privilege in and of itself because of the work we do with KidsCoin and what we stand for. But since then, things have been quite busy. So what I did was I wrote down like a timeline and I thought I'd share with you what's been happening and then some of the, the key learnings that I got from some of those experiences in hope that, it's valuable to you. So we're going to go through a time travel journey right back to July 2017. So actually when I left here, one of the first invitations that I got was to go down and present my KidsCoin at the Beehive at government. So that was, in the same week, I actually got to attend Cook Island Language Week, the launch of Cook Island Language Week. And what I found really interesting about those two experiences was to go from, for example, government to, my Cook Island community where we're celebrating culture and we're celebrating language. And being in two kind of separate worlds was just the importance of, having our young leaders standing up for our culture and for our language and why we actually need to do that. Because one of the things I noticed in that time was from a Cook Island perspective, a lot of my identity is wrapped up in that. Like I was raised quite strongly in the Cook Island community, so if we don't have that, that's part of New Zealand culture that's going to die with it. We've got such a massive Pacific Island population here, and being, in government and kind of hearing the conversations in that space around social enterprise and business and investment, and then standing in the room with some of the mamas who barely speak English, I think it was really eye-opening at that time to kind of, one, acknowledge where I'd come from, but two, acknowledge the responsibility that we carry. To stand up for who we are and what our identity represents. Then fast forward a little bit to September, I got the chance to speak on a panel at the Social Enterprise World Forum down in Christchurch. And one of the coolest things that I learned at that time was that you always have the guidance of those who came before you with you. right? Because at that time, things were really actually quite crap. In KidsCoin, a lot of stuff went down, and I kind of didn't want to be there, really. But so many situations happened during the Social Enterprise World Forum that I could never have planned for. And one of those was I actually got the chance to meet a guy from the Grameen Bank. They just won their Nobel Peace Prize for all of the microfinancing that they're doing in India and Pakistan. And that was by chance. So what actually happened was we were coming back from a dinner, and I was there alone, and the bus driver was going to another hotel. I didn't want to walk by myself because it was late. So I stood up and I was like, hey, can you drop me off? Can you just stop at this hotel on the way? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And as we jumped off, one of the guys said to me, like, whoever did that, I want to do business with you. I was like, yeah. I had no idea who he was. I had no idea where he came from, and it just so happened that we were in the same industry around financial education. So, for me, it's experiences like that you can never plan for, that I always, kind of praise God for. In October, so the month after, we actually signed up one of our first social service providers. So when we set out with KidsCoin, we were focused on schools. So this was a big pivot, for the company. And now looking back, a massive milestone and such a blessing, because we've been able to essentially positively impact the way the social service sector has been working, and the data that we've been collecting together with them, we're actually going to use to help influence that space and show how technology can help. One of the key learnings that I saw there was I got to sit in at a staff meeting. I was like, hey, I'm not staff, but I'm here. And what I realized was they were all talking about funding that was coming through to pay their wages, right? And as we all know, social workers don't get paid a lot. So anyway, the room was full of Māori and Pacific. We're out in South Auckland, who are serving Māori and Pacific. So young mums, people who are in emergency housing, things like this. So talking about real serious stuff. And the conversation was around their next funding round and all the work they had to do to put in their proposal. And what I realized at that time was we've got the most vulnerable communities being looked after by vulnerable social workers who are getting paid not as much as some parts of the community, who have to also think about proposals and don't have any job security, or wage income security. So that was a really pivotal moment for me, because one way, obviously, that technology can help is data collection, right? And they were doing everything manually. So that was a really big milestone, and now, that's one of the key relationships that we build with KidsCoin, and it's actually quite humbling to be a part of. I know my time's run out already. I'm going to go. November was a Global Entrepreneur Summit. Main message, think big, and then think bigger, and then think bigger, and then think bigger. And then March this year, we'll jump through some months. I had the chance to meet President Barack Obama while he was here in New Zealand. I'm part of a network called Wahine Toa, which is some of New Zealand's leading Māori women in business. And we got a personal invite to have breakfast with him. So 2 key messages from that. One was all leaders also need support. So make sure, we're all pretty much leaders in this room, so just remember that when you're having your kōrero and your pizza. And the second thing was, he said, if we let women run the world, everything will be fixed in 2 years. Yes. Yes. All right, just quickly, April, we had our tech summit where we ran an event to encourage more Māori and Pacific into the tech space. That was, again, all around cultural identity and trying to encourage people to just be proud of who they are. And in the same month, we partnered up with in New Zealand to run some programs down in Murupara. So, it was really cool to work across the spectrum in that digital space in that month. May, I got my braces. I actually wrote that. And also that photo, we got an award from the Denizen magazine for innovation, sponsored by Tiffany & Co. And the reason why I bring that up is because the coolest thing about that was not only did I get to speak Māori on that stage in front of that audience, I also got to bring the conversation around equity and around financial empowerment for our, marginalised communities to people who have a lot of resource. And I realised that it's not that they don't want to help, it's that they just have no access to even see what that experience is like. So that was really cool. I'm going to jump forward really quick. October, we're in this year now, so that's good. In July, we launched a comic book with the Wahine Toa Network. So I got caught, we had these superpower readings. Actually, I'll say that and then I might just wrap up. But so if you want to get your own superhero reading, go online and look up superhero reading, New Zealand. So we all got this, there's this guy from Otaki who sits you down and he kind of gives you a superhero name, right? And he tells you your superhero powers. So it's sort of take it or leave it as much as you want, but it was a super cool experience. So I walked in and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have like a princess superhero name, like, you know, like Alyssa, Cinderella, like Kapow or something. My name was Shroom. Yeah. And not only that, we actually got like characters drawn up, so there will be an educational resource coming out soon. And I'm Shroom. And yeah, so you have to have a look at that, and you can come and talk to me later. That's my flight to try and win the prize later, to meet the most people. And I'll tell you what my superhero power was. But the main reason for bringing that up is, what's your superhero power? Yeah, what's your superhero power? And then the last few months have been pretty crazy. We've launched 2 new programs for youth around employment and digital and tech. We also got made into the finals for the Next Magazine Awards for education category. Spoken on panels in Santa Barbara for the future of education with some really amazing people. And coming up shortly, we'll be launching across the Pacific Islands with KidsCoin in a whole lot of Pacific languages in bilingual tech platforms. So I'm going to stop there because I'm way over 7 minutes. But, you know, I want to leave back to my Nana. You know, one of the things that she always said, and you know, whether it's a milestone or not, whether it's an up or a down, she would say to me, well, just be the best that you can be. Kia ora tātou katoa.
Awesome. Thank you so much.